Oh, I think we're live. Right, welcome to the next edition of our Featherstone podcast. With me, Councillor Scott Haslam, the current town mayor, my chaplain Terry Plunger, and our guest this month is Georgina Henfrey, who's the chief executive of our very own local estate agents, Kestrel Estates. So that's the introductions. How's your month been, Terry?
Not bad. Particularly hot down here in the south. It's a bit unbearable at times. But also interesting, really, quite useful for Georgina to be here today because I'm in the midst of trying to sell and move and etc. So, and anyone who tells you that that's one of the most stressful times, apparently, is moving house is being proven correct. So that'd be good, in the context of. Certainly you, Mr. Mayor, your desire to, bring a sense of optimism and, breathe life to the town, etc., then, people buying properties in the area, etc., is a big part of that, making their home in Featherstone, etc. So I think some of the stuff might be good we could talk to Georgina about, albeit some of it will be my own experience. It may inform other people as well, because it certainly is a testing time when people decide to either buy or sell houses. So, but other than that, no, in good health. So that's great, and that's what you hope for. But looking forward to the podcast today and listening to the views of Georgina.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like I say, it's nice to be invited on, and I think it's nice to see a different side of things. And a lot of people don't see what's behind the estate agency other than selling sunset. And trust me, it's definitely not. So it's one way to look at it, that's for sure.
Excellent. So it's fair to say then, George, that you've been very busy this week and since we last met a few weeks ago, sort of setting this up, and what we're also going to go on to talk about in a minute.
Yeah, markets are always changing, so it's one of them where one week you might be quiet, the next week, depending on what happens politically, always affects what's happening in the market. But it also depends as to how hot the weather is, because if it's too hot, no one's going to want to actually go and view a house because they're thinking they want to lay in the pool. And then you've also got scenarios such as holidays as well, which tend to slow things down because people aren't necessarily in the country. That's been a bit of a spinner this year, and so I will say that predominantly year on year, when it comes to July, August, that's normally our time to put the brakes on for a little bit and be like, right, okay, we can get our marketing out, we can sort out our plans moving forward. But instead, we're finding that actually we're getting more and more that's listing and more that's selling than we've ever had predominantly in nearly the 18 years that I've ever done this. So given, let's just say, let's knock in now, obviously 2021 and 2022, which was a completely different market for everyone in the industry as well. Absolutely. But it's nice and busy.
So amongst all that busyness, you sort of reached out to the town council, certainly prior to me becoming the town mayor, and so I wanted to get more involved with the community. You've done something similar in the past through a Christmas light trail, and one of the things that I wanted to do once I did become the mayor was try and do things differently. So one of the first statements I wanted to do differently was in terms of Terry just being a different style of chaplain, and I think we can all agree that it's very different from us up north. Notwithstanding, that he is a great human being, a decent person. But one other thing is about this new sort of partnership scheme. So we wanted to get together with local business and your organisation, you at the forefront, sort of reached out and said, look, let's be a partner, and you're one of the first to jump on that. And for that, I'm very grateful for what you've done in that sense. And actually what you continue to do throughout the year, because the first thing we've talked about was a scarecrow event. So I don't know if you want to talk about that, what it means, and
so For me, one of the things, obviously, being in the community and seeing people in the community consistently, I'm from a village, I'm from a community feel, I'm from that. And one of the things that when I'm out and I'm talking to people that I notice is that people were saying Featherstone used to be a community, but it seems to be that we've lost all that. We've lost the sense of everyone working together. And I'm from another community as well. And within that, that's one of the things that is the strongest thing about that area. And it is that everybody works together, and you know that everybody within that community has got your back if anything ever happens. If it is that that's been lost, I mean, what I wanted to do was create a sense where everyone is coming together and everyone is proud to be where they're from, and actually work together to create new events and new things that are coming in. So I said, right, obviously, previously we had run the Christmas Lights Trail, which went down absolutely amazingly. More and more people are joining year on year. But I wanted to create something that was for the kids, for the community, and that got people together. So last year when we'd done it, and the year before, we did a Christmas Lights Trail, which basically meant we got all the schools involved. We asked people to dress up their homes with Christmas lights. And then basically the kids could go around and vote for the best dressed house over Christmas, so that they could create a bit of atmosphere, a bit of trail, get them out walking, get them out doing different things, and get them excited about new things again. It went down really, really well. But we also got told, look, can there be more of this, and what can be done? I've been to Scarecrow festivals previously before, and I've loved them, or just driving through the villages and seeing that people are actually putting together and doing something a bit different. So I just said, right, well, let's do a Scarecrow festival this year. See if we can get involved with the schools, see if we can get involved with the councils. Obviously, on the last Christmas trail, the council got involved as well. We just said, look, we want everyone to do something a bit different. So as part of that, we are launching the major marketing campaign, which is going out, obviously, firstly with this. All the schools are involved now as well, and leaflets have started going out to all of the homes, inviting them to the Scarecrow Festival. And that means that what we're going to do is during the week of the 20th of September to the 26th of September, we're wanting as many scarecrows out there as possible for kids to go around and vote for their favourite ones, get them involved in it over the summer holidays, creating different things, using recyclable products, but actually creating a trail that is for people to go around and enjoy and see what other people have done and respect other people's art at the same point as well. It's about having something there for everyone. And what we didn't want to do is exclude people. So we said, like, look, if you don't have a front garden, put something in your window, have a little tiny bench outside, or do something that can get everyone involved. So the leaflets that have gone out are to get people registered. Literally scan the QR code and put your information on there as to whether you do want to register and whether you want to be on the trail. And then during that time afterwards, we'll be creating the maps and getting those distributed to all of the schools as well. It will be that people do get to vote for it, and that will be done online through an online poll for people to vote for their favourite, their best dressed scarecrow, everything on there. And then the top 3 will be shortlisted the day before the food and produce show as well, and then it'll all be announced at the food and produce show, with some prizes on there. So there's like £100 for first prize, £50 for second prize, but the idea is just get everyone involved and create a bit of a sense of community again, which I think would be nice. Definitely missing it, so let's bring it back.
No, I think it's an excellent initiative, and I'm particularly glad, really, that I was able to speak to the different entities, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, that there's a business there in wanting to be involved. I spoke to the head teacher at Gurnhill. She'd already sort of started some work on this as an idea, and I was enabled to connect the nodes, if you like, and then all credit to you and Kestrel Estates have taken the bulk of the work, got the leaflet produced and distributed. I did notice there was a couple other sponsors, if you like, 'cause obviously you pointed out about the science, the town council and the schools, particularly Gurnhill, and also my trade unions got involved with paying for the banners that will help promote that, which is an excellent way of bringing people together. And that sense of community, Terry, isn't it, is very much what we've lived, breathed throughout the time in as a trade unionist. And I think part of the reason why I've sort of invited Terry as my chaplain is very much because we share that sort of view of collectivism, very much about the community spirit and sticking together, which is very much how you kind of articulated that event specifically.
I think if we can grow on it year on year, I think that's the thing. But obviously, you've got to get everyone's involvement in it. If it is that people don't register, if people don't get involved, it's just going to flop. But if we want to create that community again, we've all got to get involved to be able to do so. And that's something that I'm speaking to all the local businesses on as well. I know that I've spoken to Caroline's across the road, as you'll all probably know, her lovely sausage rolls. But they're putting together something on there. They're going to be doing some scarecrows on there. We've got Moss Properties that's next door. They're doing a big scarecrow. We've got a couple of the shops up and down the street that are all going to be doing something different. I've spoke to a couple of the other businesses that are going to be sponsoring the planters that are, right now, they need some life in them. So what we said is, look, let's create something. Let's work with the local businesses to do something different and have it so that Station Lane has something nice that while you are stuck in traffic, you can see stuff that's going off. You can look at something, you can feel a bit of pride and doing something different. And then year on year, if we can grow on it and create a big family day and do everything else that comes with it, I'd really want that to be able to happen and have it like it is in other villages. But we just have to get that buy-in from the local people first.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Have you got any contributions at this point, Terry? Because I've been blown away really with
just for Georgina to understand really where was the things we've spoke about on previous podcasts. And obviously Featherstone's got a proud history, a mining sort of town, if you like, always known as strong communities stuck together, you know, through adversity, good times, bad times, etc. And at the time of Scott getting elected, it just seemed to us when we were talking about it, everything, wherever around the country, not just Featherstone, I'm talking about across the country, was this mood of sort of gloom and negativity and individual, you know, and a lot of the things are within your grasp. It's a state of mind, but also in your community, if you can make a difference and make it somewhere almost the envy of other towns, in terms of how people treat each other, the respect they have for each other, how everyone pulls together, all the very things you were talking about, that village sort of community type of spirit, then you know some people have to start doing something about it. I mean, it's a pleasure to hear what you've said. You're trying to do it through schools and through children. You know, we spoke about the children where the new legislation that's meant to be coming out that says under 16s can't go on social media. Well, that's their entertainment. So it's all very well saying that, but you've got to put something underneath it. What are they going to do then? Where are they going to go? What are they going to get involved in? You know, so this sort of this sense of pride in your area as well, because Featherstone's got an amazingly proud history. But you don't only have to be proud of your past; you can be proud of your future, you know. And so it's trying to get people engaged. What we also ask for is for people, rather than, you know, people just perhaps moan about where they live or moan about life, is to come up with the ideas. So Scott's been looking for them light bulb moments, you know. So what could we do? What could everyone's sort of community make a contribution? So we've been trying to encourage that and for people to be more positive. So it's great to hear what you...
I would love to speak to you on that, Scott, as well, because there's something that I'm doing for a different community and something that I'm putting in, which is basically creating a place for teenagers to go so that they do have something a bit different. So obviously I'll have a separate chat with you about that as well. But there is, if we can create a place where kids have got something to go, it's not about social media, then it can keep crime rates down. It can keep other things down because you're keeping those children entertained. And while ever you're not, you're putting yourself in a situation where they're going to go and entertain themselves. And if there's nothing surrounding them that's helping them to support them and grow and keep them mentally stimulated, we're losing an open battle. It's just never going to work.
And I think uniquely, because my charity, the Featherstone Rovers Foundation, for this mayoral year, they cover and sort of support virtually every type of demographic in our sort of town. So it's the older end retirees, it could be the middle age, it could be families, it could be disabled, it could be younger people, and I know they do a youth club of some description, but one youth club once a week, once a month, once a fortnight, what about the rest of the times? So we need to look at other options, and actually I think maybe working, get the brainstorming done. I mean, if people are listening online now, make the comments about some suggestions, and then we can sort of feed that in. That's the sort of light bulb moments that Terry's sort of referencing, and then we can bounce some ideas, because there's one thing I know about you, Georgina, is ideas do bounce around quite
That's ADHD. I'll happily hold my hands up.
We really do get the ideas, and it's this 2 degrees of separation. You start off with one statement and you end up completely somewhere new, but actually it's a really interesting idea that can grow. So that's good. I've made a note of that. That's brilliant.
So Georgina, could I ask you, in terms of Featherstone and the knowledge that you gather as an estate agent, are people trying to get out of Featherstone, or do people want to come to Featherstone? What's your sort of assessment?
It's a bit of a mixed bag. I'd say there's less people moving. The people that are in Featherstone do want to stay in Featherstone, which is quite nice. It's always reassuring. Just yesterday, we'd put a house up for over 400 grand, which most people in Featherstone would be like, what? There's a house for 400 grand? But the reality of that is, yes, there are some nice homes. The person that's looking, and literally within 24 hours, we've got multiple people that are wanting to see it, of which I've just come from a viewing there, and she is extremely interested in it. She's from Featherstone. She wants to stay in Featherstone. They want the family here. They want everything else around it. The information that we get when people are coming into Featherstone, though, that are not from that community, and what we're trying to attract and what we're trying to build, is that the high street needs cleaning up. They're driving down it. They're seeing buildings that are looking derelict. The reason being is that there isn't enough footfall that is going through those areas. There is a lot of traffic that's happening through there. And businesses are struggling to be able to pay for things to be able to tidy it up. If they're not getting the footfall in the first place, it's a bit of a revolving door. How can I make my shop look attractive to get people in, but I don't have the money to be able to make it look attractive to get people in? And one thing that I found while working with businesses up and down the lane is that a lot of them have turned around and said that I can't get involved because I don't have any money. And these are like free events, and that's the first thing that they've turned around and said. And I've been like, do you know what? No, it's a free event. We're doing this to actually support people and create that footfall. I was running an event at Easter. It was one of them light bulb moments, like, oh, I need to do something for Easter. 2 days before, and I decided to go out and get 250 eggs and hide them across all of the local businesses and parks across Featherstone, just with a little note on them saying, look, this is a gift from us. And I just went on social media and asked people to go into local businesses. I'd asked all the local businesses to hide random eggs in their businesses, so that it got people going in and engaging and having those communications again. And I think until someone is doing something different that's going to drag people to that high street or attract other businesses to it, we are going to lose on that side of things. Other comments that have been made have been, obviously, regarding the traffic, the train lines, that's never going to change anytime soon. The traffic coming up and down Station Lane. We get a lot of comments to say that the amenities are beyond fantastic, but I think that's more along the lines of your Aldi, your Lidls, your B&Ms. But what we're tending to find is that people are actually just going straight to those shops and avoiding Station Lane completely. Because you've got your big players, because they are supplying everything that people need, because they are the larger stores that are in there, people are not finding a need to go to the high street anymore. And I know people sit there and they moan and they turn around and say that there might be too many barbers, there might be too many hairdressers, there might be. At the end of the day, these businesses are actually creating a business. So rather than them being sat at home and working from home, having a shop builds people's mental health. It means that they can step away from being stuck in the bedroom doing people's hair or doing people's nails. It's creating that mental health break. It's getting people out of the house and it's creating a better atmosphere. So do you know what? I am for beauticians. I am for barbers. I'm for new businesses and everything else supporting it. We don't have to put a cap on things if it is that the main suppliers that we've got in this industry are at the bottom of the lane and that's all that they're ever going to do, because they will outprice independent businesses. They always will be able to. So what are the businesses that are going to support local people? And if that's traders, if that's people that are in the hair industry, if it's people that are in the beauty industry, aesthetics industry, so on and so forth, I'd much prefer to have a street that's like Harley Street on Featherstone and Station Lane than full of failing businesses, because there are too many large corporates that are at the bottom of the lane that are then avoiding it. So if we can create a street full of beauticians and be the known place to go to have your aesthetics done or anything else done, so be it. At least we're keeping people in business.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to admit, I think you're spot on with what you've just said there. And, you know, you look up the lane and you made the point that maybe there's a perception of too many of one type of establishment. But actually, when you go up and down, the variety is massive. I mean, next door to you, for instance, Holly, who set up her own company, which is Moss by Wild, a phenomenal sort of story, really, and the success she's bringing is great, and it's actually a premium product, bringing people into Featherstone. You've got, you know, other establishments. I mean, a bit selfishly, coming from a raw mouth perspective, I remember going to post offices, and we've got a post office on that main street, which is one of the few that quite often have disappeared off the high street. But Bobby Singer owns that establishment, and a few other companies. He does a lot for the community, and that's a real sort of buzz. And then there's some little niche product sort of shops, you know, whether that's sort of skincare products or whether that's the sort of feet type stuff.
Feet. Podiatrist, that one. Did that escape you there?
Yeah, I mean, I know the owner of that one as it happens, so I apologise there. But yeah, there's, you know, there is a lot going for it on the street, but I think the aesthetics, I think you picked up on, is something that does need an injection of capital. And I know the Pride in Place board, that certainly annoys us when I've spoken to the people gathering that information. I've certainly said that seems to be coming up time and time again. So I'm quite hopeful that board may consider that, and then obviously look at tackling it, really, and let's get Featherstone back to where it should be, as in aesthetically brilliant, with a load of brilliant people living there who want to live there, proud of the area, you know, being inventive, intuitive, bringing in new types of ideas, and really making Featherstone a buzz town.
Yeah, I think if you if we reflect and say there was a time when there was a great sense of community in Featherstone, and the chances are that will coincide when people had hardly anything. Do you know what I mean, in terms of services or wealth or disposable income? So it's a state of mind.
I think that actually. Sorry.
Go on. No, it's all right, Georgina. Go on.
I said that I think that actually brings more communities together, because don't forget, back then it was a market town. Now there isn't a market town. Now there isn't stalls. Now people are not going out and seeing people. And if there isn't a market town there, and the streets aren't being closed off for people to trade and people to talk and get to know each other and everything else again, it's going to lose it all.
I mean, that's a good point about the market town, because that's up and down the country actually. But it's a good point, because you know, if you go away, my brother lives in Italy, and I go into Italy, and they have their local market in nearly every small town. And it's people not doing it anymore, or do you know of whether there's an opportunity to encourage there to be a market again in Featherstone?
Well, the market situation,
But
I think
there is.
Georgina,
I would say if go on.
no, it's all right. I was just going to say that the point you make about the large companies like Lidl, Aldi, or whatever, as does the Morrisons and that, they have the supermarket. That's effectively what grew, and it were a one-stop shop. And we're offering you free parking. You don't have to lump it on public transport to get it home. You don't have to go every day. You can go there. You can even buy a fresh pair of pants for next week. Do you know what I mean? It had everything in there. So people naturally went there. They could use the scale of the company to drive costs down, effectively robbing the farmers really from squeezing their overheads and making massive amount of profits. Now, the consumer's obviously gone down that avenue because it's a one-stop shop. That's been sort of growing over probably probably since 90s, I would say, when sort of supermarkets really kicked off. And some of the decisions by councils to slim down the market offering. Some councils have got rid of the smaller offerings and just had one supermarket, if you like, not supermarket, but a large market. And Barnsley's one what stands out. They've got a really great town or city, I think it's a town, is it? Market, an indoor market, and it's a good hub. But it's been at the detriment of all the villages and towns around it. Whereas Vicky Wakefield, what they've tend to have done is done away with the Wakefield one, and there is something in Wakefield, not massively, and they've put more sort of effort into Pontefract, Castleford, which are really two quite good markets. But then, likes of Featherstone has just completely gone. It didn't have the footfall. Now, there's an interesting marketer called Rory Sutherland, and what he sort of talks about is where businesses tend to copy other businesses because that seems to be the best practice. It's the way of getting more money in one for another. But naturally, when everyone shifts that way out, what you effectively do is then you create a new market where it was, and he uses the analogy about supermarkets, going to supermarkets. But actually, with everyone going to the supermarket, suddenly now the farmer's market becomes something that people want to go to. But if you said, do you want to go to a farmer market sort of 20 years ago, where you're in the cold, in mud, have to go to 15 different vendors to get your weekly shop, then people looked funny at you and pay a premium for it. But now it's deemed viable. So, yeah.
A prime example, obviously, quite a lot of the feedback we get is about the butchers closing. And they wish that there'd be more butchers in the area. They wish that there was the option to be able to get healthier meats, because if it is that you are just going to the supermarket, there isn't that options. I know if you were to look at a similar area, and I do use this because I'm from that community, but if you were to look at South Emsall, South Kirby, for example, and areas like that, which were once classed as one of the most deprived areas within the Wakefield community, and even now, if you were to look at the facilities that they've got available to them, what they've got, South Emsall is one of the most busiest, thriving high streets that there is in the Wakefield towns. It is packed every single day. It's attracting a lot higher and a lot better type of tenants. There are car parks that are full. You struggle to get parked in the area. There's shops that are busy consistently. If you go to the butchers, bear in mind the butchers is 3 doors down from Asda supermarket and across the road from Aldi. The queue is past Asda, outside the door and consistently queuing because people are wanting to support them. You've got the fruit and veg stores, been open for 20, 30, 40 years, and they will consistently run because people are going to them because the high street attracts them to it.
Yeah.
But if we lose that, we're not going to get the right tenants.
Yeah, well, this is it, and you know, you don't get your tenants, you don't get the right offering, and then it becomes a downward spiral, doesn't it? And I mean, it's an interesting point you make about the thriving high street in South Emsall and South Kirby area in general.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's just mainly because of its geography, that there isn't really anything. The city itself is far too far away really to commute on a bus. I would say you'd have to use a car or use the rail, but then, you know, carrying things on public transport isn't exactly easy. Whereas in Featherstone, you've got two big towns, haven't you, next door in terms of Castleford, Glasshoughton sort of area, and then you've got the Pontefract side of stuff. So maybe the 5-town situation, because there's a cluster of the larger towns, that's where a bit of competition has gone, and we've got the fat edge at wedge, if you like. We've been seeing that demise, and that's why we have to sort of look at reinventing what we're going to offer. And you know, there was a well, that's why I think Moss by Wild is a particularly valuable asset now for Featherstone, because it's something that is premium and new and attracts people to it. And I think if we get some more stuff like that, more companies, local business setting up like that. There was a piano company, wasn't there? Rowlandson Pianos on Green Lane. Now, as I understand it, they've sold that, and they may well be looking at moving onto Station Lane next to the Chesneys. So if that comes to fruition, again, people don't necessarily want a piano, but people will travel to get a good quality piano, and that again brings footfall into Featherstone.
I think a lot of it as well is about creating scenarios for people to learn how to run the business and how to market the business. Because your location is on in an area which people are not normally given the footfall, if you market in your business correctly, and there are courses that are available to teach people how to market their businesses correctly, it will create business from other avenues. And I think that's something that Holly's been able to do very, very well. It's something that we've done very, very well. Obviously, we've placed our head office in Featherstone, but we cover Barnsley, Doncaster, Rotherham, Castleford, Norrington, Wakefield. I'm just taking someone on for Selby, Leeds, and we have our head office here because it is a central point if you were to look at Yorkshire on a map. So, and it's one of those things, right? We've got a central point, we've got locations, we're in easy access. So why on earth aren't we utilising it, and why aren't we creating a major hub for everyone else at that point? So if we can do anything to create that environment, that's what we want to do.
It's an interesting
attract
point.
more people to it.
I'm going to misquote you there, or interpret what you've said, but what I heard was Featherstone should be the capital of Yorkshire, not York.
It's just when you look at it on a map, if you were to like look around the areas and we go, boop, you look at South Yorkshire, West Yorkshire, everything else, it's pretty much in central.
Yeah, it is.
See, I think I'm quite a believer in what goes around comes around, and with the supermarket experience, of course, because you can get most things in one shop if you shop like that. But there are people who shop day to day, but I think people do miss the local bakers. They do miss the local butchers. In fact, where I'm looking to move to is a small town on the Kent coast, and one of the attractions to us is exactly like that. It's got a proper high street with butchers and bakers, because you just don't see that now. So if it's possible, and like the farmers markets you was talking about, where I live now, it's an old market town, Westmoreland. They have a farmers market once a month, and people go because it's like going out. It's like a treat. They're going down to the farmers market and stuff. So you have to these things have to be created again, and you need creative people and people that can promote it, as you were saying, Georgina. The businesses come to the town, the thing, and it's almost like build it and they will come, isn't it? So that the place you was referring to, people are going there because it's like that. Don't miss that point, because it's like that. So you know, I think there is encouraging people to, I know it can be a few pennies more, but encouraging people to support their local businesses and things like that is all part of the community spirit we're trying to, you know, infuse, I suppose.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. If it is that we look, a lot of people don't know what is on the high street. The amount of times that people have turned around to me and said, do you know what? We've been following you on social media for absolutely ages. I didn't even realise you were on Station Lane. We've been here 2 years now. And these are people that drive up and down Station Lane consistently. But I think when you're that blinkered to it, you see things via social media, but you won't necessarily look at where the location is, because, and especially in what we do, people don't go to estate agents anymore.
Georgina, is there a local chamber of commerce? Do you all belong to a local chamber of commerce?
No, not I'm aware of. What do you mean by that?
Well, the chamber of commerce is normally all the local businesses that come together and talk about it, and could be a strong lobby for, if there's a reason people aren't staying in the high street, whether it's rents or whatever, that they could lobby, you know, the council, etc. So it's the business community, a local chamber of commerce. I mean, maybe that's something.
No, we don't have to, not that I'm aware of. It's something that I've been talking to businesses about and seeing if there's a way in which we can work together. I've been dealing with a couple of different businesses that are on the street as well. The thing is, they all know me when I walk down, because I'll always like make a smile, I'll always interact with people, I'll always do something a bit different, and they do tend to know me. But when I go in, one of the things that I get said is, and I literally, this got brought up a couple of days ago, oh, you're not on the shop watch. And I think I seem to find that what's happening is there is that much negativity around things that people are forgetting to put some positivity in there. And there are other businesses that don't need to be on a shop watch. I've not got people coming in that are going to be shoplifting from me, because if they tried it, let's just say that they'd probably get smoke bombed and not be able to go anywhere, and the police would be here instantly. But that's because of the type of business I am. Other businesses can't do that and can't have the safety protocols that we have in place for something like we do. But it means that we're not on shop watchers, we're not on situations like that. And what we do tend to find is when we are talking to people, it's about negative information that's getting passed and never anything positive or working together. What I also find in that as well is that people aren't necessarily talking to each other. So I know when I go around, and I'll do this every couple of months, just to get other businesses involved and do something a bit different. They find it quite nice to talk to someone else who is a business on the street, and have that community and do things a bit different. And they all want to get involved. They all want to do something different. They all want to do something, but there's not a route there that's available for everyone to come to.
That sounds like a light bulb moment, Mr. Mayor.
It is. I mean,
if it doesn't exist, create the local Featherstone Chamber of Commerce, where all the businesses meet on once a month or whatever and discuss. Sorry, go on.
I've done a quick Google. Google saved us. So the local one is something called the Mid Yorkshire Chamber of Commerce. Website is my-chamber.co.uk. It's a membership organisation where, depending on the size of your employee numbers, your membership annually is £221 to £649, according to the website. And that's like it's almost like I won't say a trade union, but it's an entity that represents the small businesses, really. And they
actually, that sounds more like a BNI than anything. And what we're forgetting is we're in a marketing town where businesses are struggling. They're not wanting to pay out extra to be in a situation where they can't do it. They need to be spending that money on marketing, not on a membership that's not going to give them anything.
Well, that's it. I haven't fully read up on what it offers for that said membership, but it's obviously some sort of like bargaining, policy making, sort of lobbying type aspects.
I wonder if there's any barriers to Featherstone creating its own, or whatever we want to call it. It doesn't really matter, does it? But if it brings local businesses together to discuss, the problems with them being successful or the reasons why they aren't successful. And because there's no doubt about it, if we're coming up with initiatives, albeit voluntary and things like that, you all go out and try and get some help or a commitment or a contribution from business and things like that. So, I mean, the contribution local businesses could make isn't just financial. It could be the knowledge of doing business in Featherstone, etc., and how that can be improved. This, all improves the opportunities within Featherstone, doesn't it? In terms of local jobs, in local. Money being spent in the local area. So, I mean, that's quite it's something we hadn't necessarily discussed, is it, Scott? But
No.
that sounds to me that might be a really good initiative to call the businesses together and whatever they come up with, it could be useful to set policies to take to the wider council or etc. of what's needed within the area so it can thrive.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, when we're talking about different businesses, I don't know, you mentioned the butchers and the other one is the bakers. I'm not going to cover the candlestick makers, but certainly as bakers,
Definitely.
I tell you, there's something about, even when you go into a supermarket and they've got fresh bread on.
Caroline's has got a queue outside its door every day.
Exactly. And but there's also these bakers that are going very, very almost it's like this bespoke sort of product. They're doing really high quality sort of small samples of bread or pastries, patisseries. There's some sort of chocolatiers as well, all really sort of niche stuff, really, really artistic. There's a company over in sort of Normanton Way, I think. It's open 2 days a week to the public, and they'll make some really small type sweets, if you like. I'll call them a sweet dish, a dessert of some description. They're really, really artistic, and you feel ashamed to eat them, but you have to do because you've paid for them. They're about £8 a piece, and it's stuff like that, very niche type products. Again, will bring people into the town and give possibly some people in the town sort of some quality products to consume. And I like to see more stuff like that, and because I'm a bugger for eating sweets, really, in that sense.
Yeah. I think that towards the top of Station Lane, there's more regeneration that's been going into it than what there is towards the bottom, to be fair. And especially across the precinct areas and stuff like that as well. That it seems to be in some instances like it's been left, and it's such a shame. But maybe that's just because of where budgets are again.
Quite possibly, because quite often you need some sort of grants, and again we sort of look towards that Pride in Place to try and feed in there about ideas and let the board make an informed decision independently from us, but we feed in the ideas and they'll have that debate whether it's a good idea. Because really, I think what we're saying is, if you get that injection of capital into the town, a big attraction brings more footfall, that then puts money back into local businesses, whatever it is. It might spark new businesses and new niches, new whatever, and then we then start going downwards and start turning it around and start growing as a quality town that we are.
The thing is that if you improve the main high street, you're going to improve the desirability to want to be here. Houses are still selling, stuff is still going, there is a need, but I think one of the hardest things that we're noticing, and just talking on that, is there aren't enough rental homes in this area at all. And that's because the landlords that were in this area, that are well known, that have done everything right, have followed the books for years and years and years, when the government have made changes to certain rules, it's meant that they've had to sell up because they physically can't afford to keep the homes anymore. And in doing so, it's caused such a dramatic effect on people that are in rental homes because there aren't any available.
because they're directly linked, aren't they, to the prices of houses, because effectively they're mortgaged. Yeah. So as so there were always two ways. I think we've had this discussion before. Where there's sort of two ways to sort of think about it, and one is the sort of ideology way, and then one is probably what actually happens on the ground, that which you've referenced. So one concept is that, well, if you restrict rental markets, then that reduces house prices. The other way of looking at it is, well, actually, if you build more houses, that kind of mitigates some of the differences in it. So affected by throttling the landlord market is what you're saying, Georgina. It's discouraged some people from carrying on in that as a sort of a business opportunity, which has therefore then reduced the opportunities of rentals, and therefore competition drives the price up. Is that broadly?
100%. We're putting houses on the market. Let's say that we're looking at a standard 3-bed semi. It might need some work doing to it. It's not in immaculate condition. But some of these homes are getting 40 applicants in 24 hours. We've got homes that I'm dealing with at the minute where the landlord's having to sell them up because they're being taxed too much, and it doesn't make any sense for them to keep the homes any longer. And yet we're in a situation where there's nowhere for these people to go. It's getting dragged through the courts because everyone is losing out in this situation. And it's not fair. It's not fair on the tenants. It's not fair on the landlords. It's not fair on anyone right now. But because of changes, it's meant that there are less people that are wanting to invest. There's less people that are wanting to take second properties. Yes, it creates more homes for first-time buyers, but not everyone can be a first-time buyer. There's a reason why rental homes exist, and that's for people that want to move locations. It might be that someone's separating. It could be that someone wants to find out an area that they want to live in before they settle. It could be that they've had issues with bad credit. There are a number of different things. It could be that they can't afford a mortgage. And there are different criteria to that. If you are a single person that is on a minimum income wage, no, you can't buy a house. You have to be rented because you can't afford it. It's quite simple. Yeah. But if there's no homes for them to live in, where are they going to go?
Well, I expect, there has to be a balance, doesn't there? I would imagine that there may be people listening who have had terrible experience with the landlord they're renting off of and things like that. So, I mean, I can remember years ago, I went to Berlin, and I was shocked that in Germany, the vast majority of people at that time rented. And it's because there was proper controls on rent rises and things like that. So most people, and by renting, it meant more people had disposable income. So the community was thriving. So there was a standard of what, a landlord had to do. But the vast majority of people were renting. But I suspect on buying a house, and this is where they got to loosen up a bit, is because of the deposit they require for that mortgage, isn't it? Because quite often...
Not necessarily. No, at the minute they're offering 100% mortgages to quite a lot of different people. You're only needing 5%. You can do $5,000 deposits. The thing is that if you're looking at a bond on a house at the minute, let's say that you're looking at a 3-bedroom modern semi-detached home on a rental market, you're looking at £1,100 to £1,200 per month in this area right now. Your mortgage on that would actually be about £900 per month on it. If you were a first-time buyer, and if you're looking at your deposits and your bonds and everything else that you're having to put down, you're having to put 5 weeks down up front anyway, and pay your first month's rent. So you've got your bond and you've got your deposit. Well, actually, you pretty much got the money that it's going to take you the 3 months to get through legals to own that property and have your deposit ready.
But that's what I was going to say, that because round here, if I see rents where I'm living, 9 times out of 10, they're higher than what a mortgage repayment would be. Yeah. So if people have got the money, and if they're doing 100% mortgages or whatever, it begs the question why the individuals wouldn't buy. And there may be certain reasons, like they move a lot, like you said. But the more people that perhaps own their own property in Featherstone as well. It's even more incentive to want the area to be better and everything else, isn't it, if you live there?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's just getting strangled. It is more to do with the family setups themselves and obviously the income. Featherstone, unfortunately, it is still classed as a low income area. So if it is that you're looking at a low income area, but you're still close to cities and you've got commuters that are coming in, house prices are going to continue to increase. And they have done, and they've increased year on year on year, and they still are doing. But the wages are not increasing. And if wages are not increasing because businesses can't increase their turnover or taxes or everything else, you're stuck in, it's basically bottlenecking it completely.
Yeah.
So if you're bottlenecking it, and let's say, for example, that you've got two people that are on the minimum wage, they work in distribution, something like that. Let's say they're on 24, you're on 54, then the total mortgage that they'll be able to borrow is about 220,000. Okay, they've got to have a deposit for that as well at that point. And then they've got to be able to afford it each month. So affordable for a 50k income, you're going to be looking at a house price of roughly 170k maximum on a first time purchase. Your average three bed semi-detached in this area is over 200.
Right.
So you can't afford it.
No.
Yeah, and it's interesting you make the point about the earnings, because there were a website I looked at, and it sort of broke down the little areas of the Featherstone town really about which is the most economically low areas compared to others, and there is some higher economic areas across the town, but you're right, broadly speaking, the bulk of them are on the lower end, which then brings the whole town average down, doesn't it? So you make a point then about the sort of different skill sets, because effectively to earn more money historically, back in the day, while I was a toddler, people worked in the mines, and when they wanted more money, economic factors meant they needed more money. They came together, they went, challenged the employer. They said, you're earning millions of pounds equivalent, or whatever. We want a bit more money. They went on strike, got increases of pay. So, like the miners then had particularly good rates of pay to be able to afford. Plus, then you look at the affordability before, you had a bigger chunk of your wage going out on a fridge or a cooker or maybe a car, whereas your property was relatively low in terms of proportion of your income. As things have moved on, all those commodities, I suppose, that used to buy, probably on the tick. I mean, there used to be radio rentals back in the day. People couldn't afford to buy a TV. You can buy them quite cheap now, but all the disposable income seems to have gone onto buying the property. So, and then you look at the sorts of economic models of jobs, and what you've got is a lot of the skill sets gone. Because although mining might not have been massively skilled, there was it was a hard job. There was an element of skill in certain aspects of it, and then there was definitely some skill stuff around the engineers, then the people fixing the machinery as it modernised, and then obviously all the ripple effects from where it fed into the skill set in the power stations, the skill set into the trains, into the rail service, into the heavy goods and the haulage side of stuff. But like you look now, and what's replaced all the industries that have gone, and effectively what you've got is distribution hubs. So the main one really is Whitwood, where my depot is, where I work for, and the relatively unskilled workforce. And you've got some elements of skills, but broadly speaking, they're around about the minimum wage, just a bit more. And that seems to be the story across the Wakefield area, that where the mining was, it's been replaced with distribution units, mainly because of the reason you said, because of geography. I mean, it's good networks, it's ideal for that. But actually now, there is little opportunity to improve, economic status, because those jobs don't exist. So I know there is work being done, driven by, I think it is in the West Yorkshire combined area, where they're looking at trying to work with neighbouring universities, whether that be Sheffield, Leeds, try and coordinate that, and then develop new industries to attract those companies to Wakefield area, perhaps even in Featherstone, to give those job opportunities to local people, and then economically raise the standard in the area. So yeah, there is some hope, but I don't really know how soon that's going to come, and it's how we deal with things now, I suppose, is sort of the question.
Georgina, how hungry are you? You doing all right?
I'm all right. I'm staring at my sausage. Just so that anyone understands this, before we came onto this podcast, I've been to local chippy across the road. It is absolutely beautiful, by the way. But I'd been
supporting the local chippy.
Curry sauce, and now I'm staring at it thinking, I need to eat this.
I think, to be fair, Terry, that's a good point to sort of maybe end with your moment of reflection. I will warn you as well that your camera's gone caputo, I think, with the heat again. So we've got a black screen, like we had
for me.
Yeah, it's been off a while.
Yeah. I think it's overheated again, so the camera signal's not feeding. We can hear you loud and clear. So I don't know. Maybe we need to try the laptop next time, if you can get on that one. But so with that, I mean, you've got the moment of reflection.
Hold on, I'm just trying something else to get on. You should have said.
Well, we're in mid-flow. I think you talking and
yeah,
talking. So I don't want to disrupt the discussion.
It's all right. Okay. You're all going to see a big billboard of me very shortly on Station Lane as well. It's 20-foot version of me pointing. Bit most recognised.
I was trying to find it on my iPad. Don't worry. I think I've lost you completely now.
No.
No, we can see you. Well, we can hear you. We can't see you.
Oh, right. Okay. So in terms of a reflection, I thought that was an excellent session. Georgina, your insight into the community, and also what, as busy as you are, what you're trying to do to bring the community together is really commendable, and is certainly in the spirit of what Scott has been trying to promote in the Featherstone area from being elected mayor, and has to try and recreate that sense of community, and even in bad times pull people together rather than people coming apart. I will say, I think, as it's a reflection, I think it would be right for us to also spare a thought for all the people that are suffering in the wildfires that are taking place at the moment across France and Spain. But also, whilst we've been on this podcast, there's big reports coming in Suffolk, where I think there's it's now been considered an emergency. Fires going across Suffolk as well. So it's worth bearing a thought for those people when we're considering our own sort of positions. In respect of in Featherstone, what we spoke about on the previous podcast is trying to find ways to generate ideas through people, through the community. I hope that's sort of filtering down. If Featherstone belongs to the people, and it shouldn't just be people that are on the council or the mayor or anyone else. It should be local businesses. It should be everyone who lives in Featherstone. It should even be children via the schools. That perhaps we could encourage the schools to take ideas from children as well. But trying to get people engaged, trying to get people to feel a bit more positive. Last time we spoke about children under the age of 16 and the fact that they're going to be needing some sort of entertainment. If we're taking away their handheld entertainment via their phone, then we should be seriously thinking about what replaces that. But also, and on this podcast, I think it would be right to, given there is a sense of optimism now, I think we've got a change of Prime Minister. Some of the things that he's led with in his first week have been extremely encouraging, and I think have been received really well by people across the country. Yesterday, the speech on social care was personally I think was amazing, and especially bringing attention to people, elderly people, and the people with dementia, and who's caring for them, the cost of care homes, people having to use all their money up, paying for care homes, that sort of thing. It's worth thinking about. I'd offer you this as a stunning thought on what is going on in that particular area of people having to go into a home, of which my mother-in-law has had to go into a home. And unbelievably, this home is charging £10,000 a month for her. She's got dementia, for her to be in that home. And that strikes me as absolute robbery. I've got to be honest with you. I think it's shocking. I think it's disgraceful. The people that are in that home probably eat like sparrows, you know, she's 90 years of age, and yet they've been charged £2,500 a week to be in this home, and they're using all the money that she's got, I suppose, from the sale of her small house, is paying for that. And we should do a lot better. That should be challenged, in my opinion. But what it also made me think, that's just my opinion, what it made me think is, once again, we should reflect on the sense of community, of caring for people from the cradle to the grave, wherever we live. And if we can at least influence that in the area that we live in, to the point that we can be really proud of it, not only would it make it an area that people want to come and live in because of that, but it makes everybody feel a lot better, a lot safer, just to know that we've all got each other's back. So, you know, this drive by the mayor to try and, if you like, infuse this great sense of community that's so strong in Featherstone's past is really the right way to go. And I think you'll all agree with me that Georgina's contribution was in line with that, and inspiring, that she's gone out and had ideas of her own beyond what she does for a living and the company that she runs, and that it's growing in popularity and having a really popular effect, a really good effect. And we want to encourage that more. So big shout out for Georgina and what she's been doing. Big shout out for the mayor, because you're obviously on the right track with the things that you're trying to deliver. That's it.
Thanks, Terry. I think we both appreciate what you've said there. We certainly share I don't want to put words in Georgina's mouth, but I certainly share the sentiment about the wildfires. I think what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve. And for me, thanks for joining us, Terry, again.
No,
Thank you, Georgina, for everything that you're doing, not just for the last hour, but for the last few weeks, months, and obviously what you're going to be doing going forward. And I genuinely, hand on heart, wish you all the best with your company and where you're going with it, because
it's a bit different. Didn't want the corporate, we want the personal, because it brings it back to life. And it's the biggest financial decision of your life, selling your home, and I think that's one of the things that people forget about.
It is. So one last call out: Kestrel Homes on Station Lane. Go down if you fancy moving to our fabulous town. With that, thank you very much, and we'll see you again next. Ta-ra.